So now we've talked about creating content, auto-generating question bank, things like that. So next, let's do a discussion board. Discussion boards are good, right? For especially for your online classes. So let's do a discussion. Okay, so we'll come down and we're going to add a discussion board. And so with this, look what popped up here at the top. Auto-generate discussion. Okay. What if I don't really know how to write a good discussion board and I just don't want to say, discuss marketing research? Like those are terrible questions. The students aren't going to talk about it. But what if I want a little bit of inspiration? You're going to come in, auto-generate this discussion. Again, we've got a description here. So if you've got 2 or 3 learning objectives that you want to make sure are covered during this discussion, copy and paste those into that description, and it will make sure that those learning objectives are covered in your discussion board post. So if you're looking at quality matters or your alignments to your goals or learning objectives to make sure that you're assessing them properly, you can put those learning objectives in there, and it'll make sure the wording around the discussion board matches that, and you can align it directly to it, and you can show alignment across your course. Fantastic for instructional designers. Fantastic. Levon, do you know if there's a limitation on the description on these? Like, yeah. There's not? Okay, perfect. So now, and also look at the cognitive level. So if you're looking at Bloom's taxonomy and you want to make sure that this discussion board is at an analyze level or an evaluate level or create level. So it gives me 3 options depending on the learning objectives that I had for it. How complex does my course need to be? If I'm in an intro course, I probably don't want the highest level create. I may want some analyze or evaluate. But if I'm in a graduate level class or an upper level class, maybe you want something that's at that create level. So for now, we'll take the analyze level and we'll look at this, the role of social media and modern marketing, analyze the role of social media and marketing campaigns. Love it. Sounds great to me. I'm going to add this to my class. So now that pulls this text into, it gives me the title already. It gives me all of the things for the discussion board. I can come in and edit this. I can add to this. I can add descriptions to, I can make this whatever I want it to be, right? So I'm just going to click save because I like the way it is now, okay? So what else can our AI design tool do for us? So let's say we want this to be a graded discussion, right? And we're going to give it a due date and we're going to give it our max points. What if I want to add a rubric to it? Most course design programs, whether you're using OLC or Quality Matters, will say something subjective like discussion board should have a rubric so that you are fairly grading your students and students can see the criteria that you need, that they're being graded against. So if I come to this and add a grading rubric, I can add any of the rubrics that are already in my class. I can create my own, or I can ask the AI design assistant, again, to help me come up with some suggestions, right? So what this is going to do is look at the discussion board prompt that I just created, and now this is going to give me a fully built out rubric that I can use for the class. It's going to look at analysis and insight, and it's going to say provides deep analysis and connections between social media and modern marketing. So it pulls from the context of that. These are not just generic rubrics. These actually look at the content that you just created, the discussion board you just created, and pulls that information into the rubric for you. Again, we can refine this down. So if you've got learning objectives that you want to make sure that this rubric is asking and addressing, you copy and paste those in there and have that as a part of your rubric. These can be percentages, it can be points, it can be point range. You can tell it how you want it. And you can do complexity low or high. You can change the number of columns. So if I want this to be a 3-column rubric with 3 rows, I change that and I just regenerate it. And so now I have 3 columns, 3 rows. Say I liked this, I'm going to click continue. And now this is going to allow me to edit any of this that I want to. Again, full control over it. We're just making suggestions for you. You can go and change it, edit it, make it whatever you want to. Let's change the name of this to be discussion board 1 rubric. Okay, and we'll leave it as that, and we're good. We're going to click save. So within a matter of just a few minutes, we have now created a discussion board. We've created a rubric for it. We're going to add discussion board rubric 1, and we're going to click save. So now how long did that take me to create a discussion board that is within context of the material that I had, and also a rubric that specifically aligns to this discussion board that I can now roll out. So now I have a fully formed discussion board and rubric that I can just keep rolling with. So I hope you see how much faster this can make course design for you, and how much better this can make even some suggestions that you may not have thought of before. I'm not the best at writing discussion board prompts. I've never been that great at them. So this helped me out a lot when I was creating, courses that I've taught. And again, we're just going to make this visible to our students. Go from there. Okay. So let's say now we want to let's add a quiz, right? So we'll come in, we're gonna create a test. We'll call this test quiz 1. Okay. So now I can come in and I can add a text box. So if I want to just give the student some instructions, quiz 1, good luck, whatever you want to say. Whatever you want it to say. Okay. So now we have this test generator quiz 1. Okay. And now I want to come in and add, you remember we created those 3 questions earlier? Now I want to add those questions to this test, right? So I just click on add question pool. Now I can click on those 3 questions, add them to it. Now I have all 3 of those questions in my test with the correct answer marked, ready for the students to take. I can then come in and add other questions. I can do, I can do an essay question if I want to. Describe marketing in your own terms. And I'm going to give this, let's give this 50 points instead of 10 because it's an essay question. And let's say, okay, I'm just going to have those questions. And now I think this test is going to be pretty difficult. So maybe I want to give the students an extra credit question, right? So let's do multiple choice. Right? We'll do A. So I'm going to mark A as the correct answer because obviously I told them choose A, right? But also now I want to count this question as an extra credit. Like I just want to give my students an extra credit. I'm just feeling overly generous today, and I just click extra credit. And now this will not count against because you see maximum points available. It does not count this test question in. So if the students get this right, they can go over 40 points. They can get 50 points. They can get 45 points, whatever it is. So you can be nice and give them extra credit. You also can allow partial credit for this. So if they pick A, we're going to give them 100%. If B, B could be the right answer, and maybe I only want to take half of their points away, and C is just, is real bad, and I want to give, make sure that is incorrect. So now I've given them partial credit. So if they choose B, instead of getting 10 points, they'll just get 5 points. So we can do partial credit on the multiple choice. Makes it pretty easy for you to use. Also, this will show up has this little medallion beside it to remind you that this is an extra credit points or question. So make sure that, if you see that little medallion, that you've marked this as an extra credit question. The other thing is you also can allow negative overall scores. So if you are teaching like like a nursing class, and like one answer, if you pick this answer and you do this, you're going to kill somebody. Like you obviously may want to take extra points away from them for that because they chose the absolute wrong answer. Like you have the ability to do that as well. So you can make it so if they choose option C, they actually not only do they not get points, but they also lose points. So you can set that up if you want to do that as well. So now this test looks fine to me. It's ready to go. And now it is on my home page, and I can make it visible to my students. So allow students to add content at the end. So that leaves this text box open for them, and they can add text or images. They can write you a note and say, sorry, doctor, I really messed up on this. If you don't want them to do that, you can just turn it off. But it basically just leaves this text box open for them to leave you. Yeah, just a way for them to give you a note. Like if they were to turn over the back of their test on paper and write you a note and says, sorry about this, not my best work, you can allow them to put a little comment at the end, or, hey, I know this is right. Something funny or serious. But if you don't want them to do that, you can just turn that off, and then that text box goes away. Completely up to you. Let's see. Let's talk about some of the test options that we have. We'll just go back into this one and look at, so I've kind of smashed assignments and assessments and course building all into one. Hopefully that's okay with everybody. So if we look at test settings, let's look at some of the settings that we have when we are creating a test, okay? So first of all, due date, pretty standard, pretty typical. You can have no due date if you want to, and so that just stays open forever. Think of like practice quizzes, things like that. So prohibit late submissions. So think about if we've got this set at tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m., right before midnight, right? And I'm a slacker student and I decide to start taking this quiz at 11:50 tomorrow night, right? I get 1 or 2 questions into it and 11:59 hits. You as the instructor get to decide what happens at that 11:50 when it hits 11:59. You get to decide what you want to happen. One is if you say prohibit late submissions, as soon as it turns 11:59, Blackboard is going to submit that test where that student was at that time for you to grade. Student will not have a chance to finish that exam. 11:59, they're done. We'll submit it for them wherever they are on the test, if you pick that option. Prohibit late new attempts after the due date. So at 11:50, 11:59 rolls around, I'm in the middle of the test. This will allow the students to finish that test and submit it, but no new students can start the exam after 11:59 tomorrow night. So you get to pick how you want Blackboard to handle a student who is still in the exam during the due date and the due time that you have for them. Completely up to you how you want to do that, okay? So presentation options. You can choose 1 question at a time. So that obviously, just like it sounds, you've got 10 questions on the thing. 1 question pops up, you answer that question, choose go to the next screen. Question 2 pops up, answer that, go to the next screen. If you want the students to focus on 1 question at a time, that's how you would do that, okay? Prohibit backtracking. If you turn on 1 question at a time and you don't want the students to be able to go backwards in the test, you only allow them to go forward. You don't want them to go backwards. You can prohibit backtracking if you have that feature turned on, okay? You also can randomize the questions. So I have these in a set format right now. If I don't choose this, then every student will get the exact same quiz in the exact same order every time they sit down to do it. So 2 students can sit in a computer lab beside each other, open the same quiz, and all of the questions are going to be exactly the same in the same order. Don't want that to happen. I can randomize those questions so that it takes all 10 of those questions and jumbles it up, and every student that opens it, their questions will be in a different order. Okay? Just helps with a little bit of academic integrity. On top of that, you can also randomize the answers. It will still mark the right answer that you had marked. It just will jumble up the order that it presented to them. And every student will get a different order of the answers. So if you randomize answers and randomize questions, it's a little bit harder for students to sit beside each other in a computer lab, open the same exam, and cheat because their questions are in a different order and also their answers are in a different order. That's just 2 basic ways that we can kind of help with some of this. I'll show you how to add pages to an exam in a minute, and that's even another option that we can add to make it so that students are even more less likely to get the exact same version of an exam that their peers are getting. Also, I can mark this as a formative assessment. I assume I'm not going to take time to talk about the difference between formative and summative assessment. Formative assessment, we're just talking about practice quizzes, things that don't really matter for much, that are just there for student practice. I can mark this as formative, and students can know that this is a practice quiz. This is not high value. This is not a midterm or a final kind of thing. Here's where I can change the grade category that we talked about earlier. So maybe this isn't a test, maybe this is more of a quiz, so that when we go to our grade book that we went to earlier and weight the quizzes, we can make sure that this is a part of that discussion. And then we can do it by points or percentages, and we have our points based on the number of points that are there. You can do anonymous grading. So if you've got essay questions that actually require you to go in and grade them, you can hide the student's name so you're not biased against, hey, this is my favorite student, I'm going to give them a few extra points. So if you want to do anonymous grading, you can hide their names. You also can do delegated grading. I don't think you guys will use that here. That's more for if you're teaching a high enrollment class and you have a grad assistant that goes in and helps you grade, you can delegate grading to specific people. Remember earlier we talked about posting grades automatically. So this is where the option is. If you have this button clicked post automatically, as a student finishes this self-graded test, their grades will automatically show up in the grade book and you don't have to do anything about it. They just show up. But if you want to hold those grades and so everybody gets their grades all released at the same time, you can uncheck that and then you would have to manually go in and post the grade so that everybody sees it all at the same time. Completely up to you, optional. The submission view, you can allow the students to see their submission again. We had some programs that were very much, they didn't want their students to be able to go back and see the exam again, like nursing and things. They were worried about students taking pictures of their exam and sharing it with their fellow classmates, whatever. You can restrict how students see their submissions. If it's after their submission, after the due date, after grades are posted, or not at all. Depends on you. Access code, you can add this if you need to add extra security to it to make sure that a student has a specific access code to get into the exam. So think of if you want to make sure that this test is proctored and you want them to come to campus to do it and you want them to sit in front of somebody, you can share that code with whoever the proctor is. They have to put it into the exam before the student can actually take it. So that's just an added kind of feature there. And then this is where we add the time limit to it if you want to add time. So I've done a lot of talking there for almost an hour now. Do we have any questions about any of the stuff we covered? I feel like I've gone over it a little bit quickly.
Yes, we do have one. One person asked, can we modify the auto-generated rubrics?
Yeah, 100%. So let's go back into our rubric gradebook. I thought I mentioned that, but maybe I missed it. So let's find that one that we auto-generated just a minute ago. We called it discussion board rubric 1. I can come in and I can click on it. And you'll be able to edit any of these. You can add columns to it. You can change it. You can delete a column. You can change any of the wording. Yeah, completely customizable, up to you. Again, anything that's AI generated, you can change. You can accept it the way it is. You can modify it. You can reject it. You have complete control over any of it. So anything AI in our system generates, you can modify. Yeah, I would definitely check out the Blackboard help. It's help.blackboard.com. And you can search for specific topics that you want to look at. So if you want to look at the AI design tool or creating a test, help.blackboard.com. And it's our digital users manual. It's our help site. And you can search by role. So you can look at faculty things. You can look at how to create a test. You can do, so it walks you step by step through all of it. It's a lot to print. Somebody had a printed version of one earlier, and I'm like, it's too much to do that. But the best thing in it is it's updated with every new release that comes out. So just keep checking there if there's a specific question that you want help on. Also, in your Blackboard instance, whatever page you're on, there's this little help question button down here at the bottom. You can go to Blackboard support. And you can go to Blackboard help, and this will take you to the page that is specifically designed for what you're doing at that time. So that's another easy way to get there.
Yes, another question we have from the online audience is adding PowerPoints can be part of the document or should it be a separate item?
Completely up to you. Depends on how you want them to display. So if you add a PowerPoint, I wish I had a PowerPoint slide. You don't have any PowerPoints on this, do you, that I could use? So if you add it from here on this and upload a file from here, it's going to give you, if you click on it, the student's going to have to download it. They're going to have to download the file. But if you go into a document, like if you create a document, and go here and add content or upload from computer here, that file then will ask you, do you want the students to be able to see it in line so that if a student's on their cell phone, they can see the PowerPoint slide directly on there, or you can make them download the file. So personal preference, I would put it in a document so that it renders in line so the students can actually see the PowerPoint slide and Blackboard and not need to download the file and then go find the file and open it. I would prefer that it's here. You also can give them the option to download it from this option as well. So you get the kind of the best of both worlds. That's how I would do it. Personal preference.
We also have just two more from the online audience. One is, can tests and assignments be copied from one course to, I'm assuming they said different course?
Yeah, 100%. Yep, super easy. Again, we just go into your little plus button, copy content, and then that brings up any class that you have. And so if I go into principles of marketing and I go into discussion boards, like I can copy just that one discussion board. If that were a test, I could be test one, be whatever, and then I can copy that directly over into the other class that I want to. Yep.
And one more we have is, I see the due date closure for the test, but did I miss when to set the open date?
Yeah, so that's, let's, that here. And so that's actually going to be on the release conditions instead of on the due dates, instead on the test questions. So if you find the quiz, this is the quiz that we created earlier. So you see the due date is the 10th. So if I only want this to open on a certain date, I'll pull that down and I'll go into release conditions. And then go to all members and set additional conditions so I can set date and time. And now I can set this to only start displaying at, I don't know, let's say 3 o'clock. 4 o'clock. So now this will be hidden from students until 4 o'clock today. Then it will open to students, and then the due date will be tomorrow night. So that's how you do that. So the question is, how do you add, if you've got a question bank of 10 questions and you want to pick, say, 5 of them. So let's go back into our quiz here. We'll edit this. So we already had a question pool here. And so there were 3 questions in there. So this could be 10, it could be 20, it could be whatever. So it says here, the number of questions to display to students. So I've got it set at 3 now, so it's going to show all 3. So if I change that to 2, students will only get 2 questions out of the 3. So that number could be 10, it could be 50, it could be 100, and you say, give me a random sampling of 10 of them. And every student will get a different random sampling of that test bank. So if you had Responda set up, I don't have it set up on this. It would be under test options. And it will actually, I do have it right here. For Respondus, you actually have to add a time limit to it. And then Respondus is just right here. You would click on it and add Respondus to your assignment right there. Yeah. And also if you had Safe Assign or Turn It In, you could turn on Originality Report there as well. What else? I don't want to just keep running on and rambling. I want to make sure I'm answering the questions you guys actually have. You got another online question?
Yeah, we have another question from the online audience. One person asked, can added documents be overridden with a new version, or do we need to delete them and add them back or add the new one? For example, like if you had a PowerPoint that you uploaded has a typo in it.
Depends. Depends on how you've added it. If you, again, depends on how your school is set up. I don't know enough about your instance to do this, but if you do cloud storage and upload from cloud storage, this will refer back to the OneDrive account. And if you change into OneDrive, it'll change what's in the class. But if you just do upload from computer, this is just going to be a static file that you upload, and you would have to go in and change the file and re-upload it if you upload it from the computer. If you refer to it in like an online storage and you bring that online storage in, changing the online storage, it will change it here as well. Also, if it's in the content collection, if you add a file here and you replace the file there, it'll replace where it's linked in the class as well. So that could be another easy way. But again, that document's not live if you do upload, but it is if you do like add from storage. Blackboard Original is not going away. It will still be there. So as long as those classes are still active on your Blackboard instance here, you'll still have access to them. I don't know what your schedule is to roll those classes off of your server, but As long as you keep them active on your account here, you'll have access to them. Yeah, because if you look at this class here and mine is still in the old original format. And so I still have access to all of that. And I can copy material directly from this class into my new Ultra class without any problem. No, that will not go away until your system administrator takes those off the server. How to get to course content from the institution page. Yeah, so click on tools and then content collection. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. So on your when you log into Blackboard, oops. If you're on your activity stream or courses or whatever your landing page is, just go under tools and content collections right there. And that's just kind of your online storage. So if you want to put a file in there and you want to be able to refer to it from different classes. So maybe you wrote your bio one time in a Word document and you don't want to have to rewrite it every time. And you just want to pull that file into multiple classes. You can put that in your personal content collection and then just pull that file in each time you want to use it. So you don't have to retype it. So if you use a file in multiple sections or multiple classes, you can put it there and refer to it. So you're kind of your online little mini online storage. I don't have anything else. So if we want to call it a day early and get out of here, I'm fine with that too. I'm here for you guys. So if you need me for something else, I'm here. But if not, I've covered most of the material I think I needed to cover. Yeah, I mean, we'll be back virtually with you in March, right? Yeah, so if you think of questions between now and then, write them down and send them over and we can add it to the topic list. But yeah, thanks for coming and I appreciate it. Thanks for having us. Thanks for the great North Carolina hospitality. It makes me feel at home.